Testing, testing.
Zero, one, 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 zero.
Hello. I haven't done one of these in a long time, so a bit out of practice. But hopefully you can hear me. Yeah. I think there's 3 of you. If you want to say hello in the chat and let me know if you can hear me. Ah, good. Hi, Jacob. One moment. Hello, right, so yeah, how does this work? I can't remember. I think if you have any questions, then drop them in the chat. Then I'll answer them, otherwise I don't know what I'll do. Just check this is working.
0 1 0 1 0 1 0 1.
I guess you can hear that okay as well. Okay. I guess there's not many people who have joined, and so far no questions. So this might be quite a short stream. But I guess I could show something anyway. And if you've got any question about anything, please ask. There was a nice question in the Discord the other day. So maybe we can start with that. Yeah, it was kind of a question about these buses. So they're not actually that well documented or anything, but there's these nice things called effects buses. So if you have quite a long sound, if you create a bus, then you can manipulate it over time. So if I just start with the sax sound, then if I wanted to apply a filter to that, like this, to make it have a high pass filter, maybe I'll just use HPF to be a bit clearer. If I wanted to do that during the duration of the sound, it doesn't work unless I use one of these buses. And then I can change the effect while the sound is playing. Which is good. And you can do things like range. Have an envelope. That doesn't work too well either, unless you chop it into bits and segment. So let's cut that into 32 bits, so then you get slowly opening up. Let's make it a bit more. Nice. More resonance. Okay. So that's all great, but what if you had more than one sound happening? The envelope is applying to the whole cycle. and not the individual sounds. So the question was how to apply that to each sound in turn. And it's possible, but a little bit fiddly. So let's take this here. And so the first thing we need to do is create, let me think. Yeah. So this is taking each event and turning it into its own pattern using this pure function. And then for each of those patterns, it is applying that to it. And then, so then we end up with a pattern of patterns, each which has this applied, and then we can squeeze join them back together. So that works. You can still pattern these things. Oops. So yeah, and you can do this with a lot of the effects, not all of them, but most of them. So if we change that to DJF, for example. So yeah, adds a lot of dynamism to those different sounds. It's a bit fiddly doing all this. What you can do is just define that as its own function, like this. So effect cycle pat, and then and then you have to get your brackets in the right place. And once that's done, you can just do this. Get rid of a lot of these brackets. This. And use dollar then. Yeah, that's not working. Okay. I forgot the... Okay. So yeah, at some point we'll add this function or something similar to Tidal so that you don't have to type that in. But so yeah, there's a nice little function that takes a effect bus pattern and applies it to each event in a pattern. Okay, I can see that I've actually got some nice questions. So first from Diego is chunk. So let's see. Okay, so chunk. Yeah, interesting one, chunk. So we can look at its type signature, which might help, it might not. So you can see that it takes a pattern of integers. This means that it's a function, like ref or something. And this is another pattern, and it returns a pattern of the same type. So what does that mean in practice? Let's start with, drum pattern. So if we did chunk, put that in 4 chunks, which is convenient because there's 4 steps in it. That's 1 step. That's another step. That's the 3rd step. That's the 4th step. And let's just do something quite obvious to it, like use speed to make it go up in pitch. That's not so obvious actually. If I use numbers, I'll use legato so that the sounds don't overlap.
2 2 3 0 2 3 0 3 0 1 2 1 2 3 0 2 3 0 1.
So just plain
3 0 1 2 1 2 3 0
Oh, didn't like
2
that.
3
Too
0
many
1
dollars.
3
Okay.
0 1 2 3 0 1 2 3 0 1 2
2,
3
3,
0
0,
1 2 3
If I
0
slow
1
down the
2
CPS a
3
bit,
0 1
so it
2
matches a
3
bit better.
0 1 2 3 0 1 2 3 0 1 2
Or maybe I
3
use
0
alphabet a
1
bit
C
better.
D A B C D A B
Okay.
C D A
So
B
now if we put the
C
chunk
D
in,
A B C D A B C
with that
D
dollar again.
A B D A B C B C D A C D A B D A
So
B
it's got it in 4 chunks, and
B
it's
C D
applying this to
C D
one of the chunks each time around,
D A B
stepping
C
round.
B
So first time I did it to
C
A, this time I
D
do it to B,
C D
and then
A
next time
B D
C, and
A
then
B
finally
C
there.
B C D A C D A B D A B C B C
So
D
not
A
too tricky to understand when we're just applying effects. It's stepping round, and also this is quite simple because there's 4 things in it, so it's clear that successively it's applying it to one of the 4 chunks each time round. It gets a bit more complicated when you do things like fast. Let's see what that does.
B C C D A B B C D A C D C D A B A B D A B C C D A B B C D A
Starts being a bit strange what it's doing. And this is the case quite often when manipulating time in these kinds of higher order functions. Things go a bit haywire. It's all very procedural, does the same thing every time you do it, but because you're stepping through over time while also manipulating time, then things go a bit screwy. So I don't know how far I can actually explain what's happening. Let's see.
B, C, C, D, A, B, B, C, D, A, C, D, C, D, A, B, A, B, D, A.
Yeah, very hard to work out what's going on. I guess if the chunk was here at the start, then it would speed that up, make it go twice as fast, and so you get AB. But then here, for this quarter of the way through, it'll speed up, but it'll speed up. It's like you're looking in on a window of a version of the pattern that's been sped up. So I guess in that case, it would be going 2, 3. So the first time round, you'd get CD, so it'd go A. The second time round, it'd go A, CD, which is a bit surprising because it's missed out the B. So it's like there's like this window, and when it reaches a bit where the chunk is, that's when you're looking at the different version of the pattern that's been sped up. It's not like it remembers where it was and speeds up from there. I'm not sure if I can explain it better than that, but it's hard to predict, but basically that's what makes it fun for me. I use chunk all the time. I often use it for like speeding up longer samples as well. Like if I had this one, chopped it into 32 bits, slowed that down, loop back.
Bones, sticks and stones and weed and bombs, pie with skulls and bones. Sticks and stones and weed and bombs, pie with skulls and bones. Sticks and stones, weed and bombs, sticks and stones and bombs, sticks and stones and weed and sticks, skulls and bones. Pie with bones, pie with skulls and bones, pie with skulls and bones. Stones and weed and bombs, sticks and weed and bombs, sticks and stones and bombs, sticks and stones and weed and sticks and skulls and bones and skulls.
Yeah, it's just so much fun. Okay, so we have another question. I'm not so good with pronouncing this Cyrillic, I think, alphabet, so but thanks for the question. Every time I use Euclidean rhythms, the sounds are short. How do I fix this? At the same time, I want to be sure that the sounds will not overlap each other. Okay, yeah, this is a good question. So yeah, if we like draw, is this gonna work? Yeah, so this is a Euclidean pattern for 3/8, so it's got 8 steps and it's put 3 events in there, and it sounds like this. But if you've got like a longer sound, like sax, and you have legato on, they are kind of short. It's because it's only playing for each step and not the gaps in between. So how to fix that? One way is to use cut instead. This works if you're using samples. I guess it also works if you're using synths. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you're using as well. Yeah, one problem is that when you stop, it will play out the sound right to the end, even if it's very long. But I feel sure that there is another function for dealing with this. Let's see if I can find it. Where would it be? Euclid. That's not it. Okay. That's for the offset. Yeah, I can't find a version that just plays for the sound including the gap. I know there is some way of doing it though, I feel. Maybe not. Yeah, I'll have to come back to that. Yeah, so what cut does is it's like often used for hi-hats and things, like it's if you put something in the same cut groups, this one is the cut group, then it will stop any sound playing that's in the same cut group. So that means that the sound will never overlap. So without that cut, you can hear the overlap. So that will work with breakbeats as well. Then when I stop, there's nothing cutting that last one. That's the downside to it. But yeah, that's one answer anyway. I think there would be a better answer. I just need to think about it a bit more. Okay, so how do is used in Tidal, says J Gibb. Sorry, just trying to copy and paste there. Okay. Yeah, so this is quite a handy little trick that you can do in Haskell. So if you have one thing like this, and you have another thing like this, and you just want to play them at the same time, then you can do a few different things. You can put them in a stack. But if you wanted to keep them separate for some reason, oh yeah, didn't get that quite right. Then you could use do notation for combining multiple commands. So if you just put them like this, then you'll get a syntax error. This is quite annoying. We should be able to fix this really in the editor plugin, but I haven't quite worked out how to do that. But what you can do is put them in do notation. This won't work either, but if you line up the D1 and the D2, so they're in the same column, then they will play together. And you can do different tricks as part of this, like if you put a hash as the first instruction, then you had something playing and you just wanted this to replace whatever was playing, then that would work because it's running all three commands at the same time, including the hash. That has to be the first instruction, otherwise it'll hash what comes before. But yeah, that's the trick really, is making sure they line up. It's like two-dimensional syntax. And you can do things like use variables, set them with let and that kind of thing as well. Just as long as you get them in the same column, it should work. Hopefully that answers your question. Let me know if not. Okay. Greetings, Guildford. So I think that's a cultural reference. I don't quite get. Space intruder detector. Have to watch UFO. So shorthand way to get concrete scales like A minor or F minor with scale. I'm not so good with this kind of stuff. Let's have a look though. Yeah, I was getting confused between scales and chords as well. Okay. I don't use this stuff very much. I'm just reminding myself. Well, so scale, I can't even remember. So you get a pattern of strings, a pattern of integers. Oh, that's the notes, I guess. Let's just try. So minor. Okay. Concrete scale. See, I don't even know what a concrete scale is. But I suppose if that's a minor scale, and if that's C minor, I suppose, I guess you could just add A to it. And that would probably be an A minor scale, but yeah, I don't have any musical training really, so I don't know what I'm talking about. That might be a better one for the forum. Okay, can you explain the beat mode function? So that is in the future version of Tidal, which I'm not running at the moment. So this is version 194. So if I just go into the future, just take me a moment. Just have to load that. Okay. Yeah, that didn't work, did it? What's wrong there? Not happy at all. again. Okay, seems happy now. So now on version 2. Yeah, so this is something really experimental. So yeah, let's see. So the new version of Tidal will more or less look the same as the old version, except it'll have this whole other part of it called beat mode. So in beat mode, we count things in beats instead of cycles. So if I say beat mode 4, it'll play 4 beats per cycle. So that was twice as fast as before. This it's playing 2 beats per cycle because it always squeezes in that number. So the more I add, the faster it goes. Whereas in beat mode, the number of beats is fixed. Oops. All right, let's try something else. That's one difference. You can still subdivide beats. And then that allows you to do things like take 2 sequences and center them, because now they have different lengths. So if I or I could, I think it's just left align them or right align them. Turn that down an octave. So yeah, that's kind of what's working mostly so far. Still inside this beat mode you can reverse things. Not sure what happens then. So a lot of the functions still work in this beat mode, but they'll all work according to beats rather than cycles. So yeah, there's lots still to write, so it's going to be a little while before this is ready for release. Hopefully not too long, but yeah, very experimental. It's all on the repository, but a little bit of work to get it working. Okay. I'm going to have to go back. Yeah, there's no real details about 2.0 features online yet, apart from just hanging out in GitHub and in the Discord. There's a innards channel on the Discord where I talk about this kind of stuff quite a bit. but it's all in development and there's no clear design spec or anything like that. So Guildford road trip, your question. Oh, hang on, let's read these in order. So user's manual to live coding. Do you have any other recommended reads for newcomers? Not sure really. I guess recommended reads. Yeah, I guess really it comes down to looking at the documentation of the system you're using. I think it depends what you're after really. If it's sort of getting into the culture of live coding and stuff, then there's all of the ICLC proceedings, so there's a lot of stuff in there to go through, which you can find at iclc.toplap.org. It's a little conference that's been going for, just had our 7th edition, and there's another one coming up next year in Shanghai. So there's all the proceedings of that, which should almost all be online. What else to read? Yeah, it really depends. Yeah, if you've got specific things you're interested in about live coding, then let me know. All right. So, yeah, Vasily is helping answer the scale question a bit better than me, I think. Right, so Guildford road trip, you say, tidal looper, can you convince me it's not scary to implement? So do you mean in terms of actually getting it running? Let's see if we can have a look. I haven't played with this in a little while, so let's see. Just trying to find the okay. There we go. Move my windows around a bit. Okay, so this is the website for it. It's by T.H. Grund, who is awesome. So it's a super collider quark. So you have to start it like this and just various parameters. Okay. Well, we can give it a go, I suppose. See if I can find super collider. All right, there it is. Class not defined. Okay, I didn't install it, did I? So, okay, you have to download it manually. Right. Maybe there's like an online tutorial for how to do this. I don't know. So it's definitely not in Quarks. Okay. So let me just download it. So let's duplicate that. What have I done now? Yeah, I've ended up with 2 of these now. This is getting a bit... Okay. Alright, so to download it, I need to go to... Is there releases? No, so code, download, zip. So if I download that, I'll just extract it to my desktop. Okay, and then it says language quarks install a folder. So back to SuperCollider. Oops. Go to my desktop and here. Tidal Looper Master installed. Okay, this seems to be going okay. And then after doing that, always do recompile class library. I've got a starter file, so SuperDirt starts automatically. So now it's running, and I'll run this command. Okay, so that kind of installed okay. Let's see if I can get it working from Tidal. How to use it. Let's check. SuperCollider is listening. Yeah. So SuperCollider is listening to my microphone. So let's see if it magically works. 1, 2, 3. Is this working? Don't know. Yeah, that seems to be all right. Wow. Yeah, so that's definitely fun. You can also have it like just going all the time, like this. And then just mess with it while you're speaking and do weird effects. And make everything very confusing. Yeah. So yeah, it's really fine. I guess just getting it installed is one step, but then once you run it with that command, it's all pretty straightforward and a lot of fun. I've used it with vocalists quite a lot, and yeah, it's all good. Okay, are there any other questions? Right, I've lost the YouTube screen. Where are you? Aha. Okay. yeah, so if you're looking for cultural introduction to live coding, I think ICLC proceedings is probably the way to go. There's also another little workshop called Hybrid Live Coding Interfaces, and you'll find a lot of the presentations at these conferences also online, archived, and on YouTube and archive.org. Yeah, so yeah, so I'm using Linux, and I'm using some software called Jack to connect the microphone to SuperCollider. If you're using Windows, I think there's something called Virtual Cables that lets you do this, or you can do some configuration in SuperCollider somehow, or it might just work magically. Under the Mac, there's something called Black Hole that does the same thing. Tidal will be used to generate clock for external devices. And can you create patterns of the clock? Yes, I haven't got any external devices to hand, but if you go to the website, yeah, let's see if I should have set up this a bit better. So you can do MIDI clock stuff. I can find it. And you're basically patterning quite raw MIDI commands. So if you've got a MIDI device, you can send a MIDI clock tick 48 times. Is that per cycle? Yeah, I think it's 48 times per cycle, which fits with the MIDI spec. And you can pattern that as well. That would make things go pretty haywire, but I guess that's what you're after. You can also pattern the start and stop of the clock, so you can restart an external device like a sequencer. Have fun with that. And there's also Ableton Link protocol support by default, so that's another way of controlling things. So yeah, it's all there in the documentation. Right, where are we? Yes, I did show Tidal 2 briefly, so you can rewind later. This will be archived if you want to have another look. So this feed-forward editor, so that's a experimental editor. It's not well supported. Yeah, it barely works. It's really hard to install it on Linux. I guess it's possible to install it on Mac, and really difficult to install it under Windows. It relies on a really old library, and it's just something that I worked on for fun for a bit. I do use it in performance. So if you really want it to get working under Windows, I think you'd probably easiest to go via Linux emulation, but I don't know how to do that. Yeah, you do have to do some hand hacking of this curses library. If you really want to try and do this, then let's have a look. Yeah, have a look on the issues section of the repository, which you can find at this address. And then you can probably have find people with problems, hopefully with the solutions. But yeah, it's I'm not showing it on screen. Oh, never mind. Yeah, but I've shown the URL. But yeah, it's not for the light-hearted, unfortunately. The same kind of highlighting is available in Strudel, the JavaScript version of Tidal, which you can see at Strudel TidalCycles.org. And this highlighting will come to the other editors sometime in the future. It's hard to say when exactly, but at the same time, Martin is working on a kind of much more easily installable version of Tidal, and when that's working, hopefully be a step closer to having this kind of highlighting of events in all the editor plugins, so you won't have to try and install feedforward to get that feature. Okay. Okay. Backhaul, yes. So what are the ways I have to send OSC messages with Tidal? So another really good question. I mean, all Tidal does is send OSC messages. So this is a network protocol standard network protocol for communication between software and hardware, usually software. It stands for Open Sound Control, and it's what Tidal uses to communicate with SuperDirt. So you can use it to control other software too. So if I jump back into the documentation, so there you are. That's not it. Okay, maybe we have to search for OSC. Yeah, okay. So there's quite a detailed tutorial if you want to send particular OSC messages with a particular structure for particular software, whether you're controlling a visualizer or another kind of synthesizer or something like Pure Data or Max, then there's quite a lot of detail about how you do that. Yeah, it's really flexible. You can have it so you can create the same streams. What am I trying to say? You can have it so you can define these open sound control targets in such a way that the messages will be automatically routed to the right device, to the right network target, depending on what is in the pattern and that kind of thing. So yeah, have a look at this. There's a lot of information. It's quite dense, so if you get stuck, just jump on the forum, club.tidalcycles.org, or the Discord via the community section, and we can help you out. Okay. Lost you again. Right. How do people flood the console with a message? Okay, so I think I've seen people like Rennick and Kindome do this sort of thing. So yeah, so if you want to flood with a message, I think it's probably just doing something like this. Just have to remember what this does. Okay, so if we repeat that message, I think there's okay. Right. Yeah, sorry, let's see. So this is giving hello. Yeah, I just want that to be a string. So if I then concat that, but okay. Right, so up this a bit. Yeah, this intercalate function, you have to import this data list thing. But once you've done that and got that function available, you can define this flood function, and then it'll flood. And if you want more, to flood more times, you can do that. Yeah. All it's doing is repeating the message and just returning it so that it's printed out to the console. Yeah, it's funny that's kind of caught on as something to do in a live performance. Right, Matthias has a good question. So I think this will have to be my last question, but this has been a lot of fun. We'll have to do it again. How to make phrases that have different time signatures. Yeah, this is quite hard in Tidal version 2, but Tidal version 1 rather. The new version is all about how to align beats, so it's much easier there. So yeah, I'm not too familiar with these kind of type signatures. In the MIDI notation, you can indeed do some good stuff with this though. So if things have different numbers of beats, it lines them up. So I think that's called a polymeter or a polyrhythm. I can never remember which is which. And here it's like seeing this has got 2 beats and this has got 3 beats. And because this comes first, it takes the number of beats per cycle from here. and lines them up. If you wanted to tell it a different number of beats per cycle, you can do it like this. But yeah, how to do more complex type signatures. I guess at the moment it's just a case of having to do the maths, either to line things up with beats like this and choose the right number of beats per cycle, or use fast and slow to speed things up and slow them down. But it's a bit tricky, and something which will get a lot easier in Tidal version 2, which would basically take this sort of ability to line beats up and bring it into the whole language. So there'll be a lot more functionality for how we line things up. How to drone. I guess the question is, I guess how to drone is probably about starting with a drone sound in the first place, and I don't really have one to hand that I can think of. So I'm going to have to start with that sax sound again, I guess. And just really slow it down, I suppose. Maybe layer it up with this version going slightly faster. Maybe have some low pass filtering going on. Maybe some different things happening at different times. Jux Rev is always good. Yeah, I've not really done any drone stuff with Tidal before. It's quite fun, isn't it? I'll have to try that some more. But yeah, I guess Tidal is often used for really quite fast beat-based manipulation, but there's so much fun you can have with pushing it into other areas, just playing with the patterns. Okay, so thanks so much for all the nice questions. This has been a lot of fun. Used to do this quite often. And yeah, thanks for showing up and getting involved. And yeah, I'll probably do another one in a couple of weeks. So if you've got any more questions, then join us again. And we'll have to do like a big monster stream, another 48-hour celebration of live coding soon. Meant to do one for the solstice that was a couple of days ago, but didn't quite have enough time. But yeah, we'll organise one soon, and it'd be great to get everyone doing little performances as part of that, especially the beginners. Okay, that's it. I'm gonna click the stop button and